Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Conference 21 weekly roundtable. It's, I guess, really a twice weekly roundtable now because we do one on Friday at 2, which is the one you're watching now, and we do one on Tuesdays at 7, all Eastern Daylight Time. So if you're watching live, it's Friday, in case you lost track of that. So that might be helpful to you. So I'm Michael Whitehouse. I am the chairman and founder of Conference 21. We have now 48 speakers lined up, and we're still working on getting the schedule online. We run into a couple of technical difficulties. You can buy tickets. That works. And the speakers are all scheduled, and you could email me and I could send you the schedule. There's information for most of the speakers, but the links to get to that information is still being worked on. And of course, I went to log in today to update it some more, and it decided that it was going to stop working entirely with anything involved admin. So having some difficulties, but nothing that affects the conference itself. Everything's still going. It's just the communication thereabout. So still get your tickets. You'll still get access to networking events and everything else. And we still have dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens, 4 dozen, that's the right number, of fantastic people coming in. So we're very excited. And of course, 2 of them are with me here today, Angelus Perez and Dennis Paul. We're going to do a quick round of introductions so they can share who they are. And then we're going to talk about their 2 topics, which are how personality affects client outcome and rich man, poor man mentality. So we'll go around to the introductions first, and then we'll start topics. So Dennis, first, introduce yourself. Who are you? What are you about?
Well, my name's Dennis Paul. I'm the founder of Chronic Wellness International. I'm a hypnotist, a functional nutritionist, and a life and health coach, all for the purpose of helping people with chronic illnesses, specifically gut diseases like Crohn's disease, where after 5 decades, I finally became disease-free. So I'm bringing out the good news to everyone that they too can find their freedom. Nice.
All right, Angelus, tell us a bit about yourself.
My name is Angelus Perez. My company's name is Success Genie, founded by my wife and myself some 15 years ago after a major debacle that nearly crippled us financially. We have used mindset training and coaching since then, and it's basically to get people, successful business owners and entrepreneurs, to the next level of their success. They're already financially successful, but they're living a life that's less than adequate, and they're totally unhappy. Some of them are stroking out. So we work best with changing their point of view so they can then enjoy their life and the fruits of their labor.
Very good. All right. So we have topics from each of you. I didn't actually decide who's going to go first. Who wants to lead off with their topic first?
I like to hear Dennis.
All right.
Let me also make a introduction. You see behind me a flag.
I do see that.
This week is the 6th anniversary of my father's passing away, and I received this flag from the United States Navy at his funeral.
Wow.
So it's one of those things that I keep treasured. So thank you, Dad. I look in the mirror every morning now and I go, "Oh, Dad, I didn't know you were gone."
Wow.
Because I look just like him. Anyway.
Amazing.
The topic of discussion that I really wish to share comes out of my toolbox of all kinds of goodies that I use in my business, as well as in my personal and social life. I find that some of these tools are not limited by the platform or by the businesses or by the individuals. And so one of the tools I will be talking about at the presentation is personalities. How does personalities impact your results? Now, Angelus is going to talk about mindset, but if we don't speak the language that our clients understand, we're only hitting maybe 25, at best 50% of those people. And the others don't understand what you're trying to tell them. What it really played a major part in my business, especially the hypnotherapy. As you know, a good hypnotist, he's not going to make Angelus, run across the stage like a chicken or anything like that. But what a good hypnotherapist does is he's like a guide. If you've ever watched The Lord of the Rings, Gandalf is out there. He's not telling the hobbits and the dwarves and the elves what to do. He's basically leading them along. And that's what a hypnotherapist does. But you'll notice his message is very clear. This is what you must, where you must go. And so I found that by utilizing personality assessment, especially in artificial intelligence and emotional intelligence, I'm now hitting 100% of my clientele. And the results that are coming out of those sessions is almost mind-boggling, because I'm able to speak the message that they will accept and understand and be able to utilize, and then they can come back and we can still communicate. Now, if I have a difficult time, I can put it in the AI, write the message, it'll rewrite the script for me and deliver it, and they're going, oh my gosh, you do understand me. And so it's so powerful. It's one of those little goodies in my toolbox I just felt so compelled to share.
Awesome.
I want to know pretty cool.
Thank you for sharing that, Dennis. That's fantastic.
And it's great for mindset coaches. Believe me, it's an incredible tool.
We'll talk later.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how would someone use this tool?
There are all kinds of applications, whether you're talking about networking, network marketing, real estate, relationships, health coaching, or any type of coaching for that matter. There's specific applications that you can find in this artificial intelligence program. And as I continue to learn more about it, and I actually signed up for a major training course, because once I got into it, it was like, oh my gosh, this is incredulous. But if I don't understand how to use the tool, I'm going to smash my thumb with the hammer. And as I get deeper and deeper into it, I'm sitting there going, oh my gosh, I always thought artificial intelligence was off in the future. No, it's here and now. Right. But the difference being between automation and artificial intelligence in this particular situation is it's the human that's telling the AI what to do, as opposed to the AI telling the human what to do. Significant difference. And now it's being used at the UN, major universities, government agencies, large corporations in about 180 countries around the world. And I'm going, wow, where was I when it came out? But it's extraordinary, the partnerships. But anyways, in the application of where I'm using it, I've not only seen incredible results in my hypnotherapy, but my business during COVID multiplied 300 times.
Wow.
So something's right.
During COVID times. That's amazing. And
yeah.
when did you get, how long ago did you started learning this AI technology?
I didn't start till January, but I started playing with it last summer. And the more I played with it, I said, oh man, I'm missing something. And so I started getting further and further involved in looking at the applications and how they work, the technology behind it. And I'm going, wow, this is incredulous. I've never seen anything like it. And I mean, I've got a bookshelf of all kinds of personality programs, from Myers-Briggs to, oh, pick one, you know. Yeah. I've got the original tapes. Remember the cassette tape?
Yes, I'm not old. I do remember those.
I got 2 bookshelves full of all of that stuff. But this is so radically different, and it's so powerful that, you know, it's just one of those things that I felt compelled to share, because everybody needs to communicate clearly with each other.
Yes. And
it doesn't matter what country you're in. They can take and translate English to Chinese or Chinese to Spanish. I mean, it's mind-boggling.
And where can you get this technology?
I'll put the link in the chat if you'd like. You
okay,
can
yeah, sure.
Take your own code, and then what I'm going to do in the presentation is I'm going to actually show you applications. And of course, while I'm doing the hypnosis, I'll show you what the results are.
Nice.
As a client would experience the results.
Very nice.
What kind of NLP do you practice using on some of your clients?
It's not NLP. This is a course that was developed by Gerald Kine over 40 years ago. And of course, when he was 12 years old, he started in hypnosis, and he worked with all of the old hypnotists. And as Gerald progressed, he even developed different modalities, where one of them that I work in is pretty amazing. It's actually a separation of the body and the mind, where you can go outside your body and find the answers that you're looking for, whether it be healing, whether it be, questions in life, mindset. It's just, it's exciting. I'm having a good time, and I'm supposed to be retired.
It sounds almost like timeline therapy, the way you describe it. I've heard of something similar, but I find it very amazing how the technique actually works. You can't explain it. It just works very well.
Well, if you understand the different levels of the mind, of the brain, okay, you've got the conscious level, the subconscious, then you have the unconscious. And in the unconscious, your body's still functioning, your immune system's still working. But then you go below there, now you're in the L-stale. And that's like the basement. And once you're at the basement, now you can go in this high technique where you can do the mind-body separation. And a lot of people are working in this field now, and they're finding incredible healing processes taking place.
Exactly. I've seen it used successfully with a lot of my clients, and it's an untapped research that's still growing, even though other people have discovered it long ago. It's finally getting its day in court.
Well, it's going to really have the judge out of his seat, because there's been a 3-year research study at the University of Zurich, first one of its kind, where they took, in a controlled environment, 50 people. And then they had 12 hypnotists, all trained the same way, same modalities. And they started mapping all of the areas of the brain using MRIs, X-rays, all the different modalities of being able to image what's going on in the brain. And when I saw the first images, I said, oh, this is what's happening. And they said, how do you know? You haven't looked at the study. I said, because I understand it, what's going on. It was really exciting. But what it's going to do is it's going to re-legitimize hypnotherapy as a true medicine.
Yes, it is.
It was in the 60s that the medical field kind of drove the voodoo pin into hypnosis, saying it was a bunch of quackery and all that. But now the papers, when they're come out this year being published, it's going to take the top right off and really let everyone know just the power of hypnosis. So where you're looking for permanent change in what you do in coaching, we can modify that pattern. We can modify habits, modify belief systems so that it's permanent.
Yeah.
That's the hardest thing you have to deal with, getting somebody to stick with things.
I've seen it.
It's always made sense on that there should be a way to kind of get into the code and make changes, as opposed to doing it from the interface side, which is where most things work. I think some of the reason that hypnosis was pseudoscience is that it wasn't science. So somebody may have intuitively figured out a way to make changes and heal, but did they actually know what they were doing? Could they teach someone else to do it? If someone is doing something, are they doing something that's legit, or is it just something that sounds nice? So having the studies behind it lets you determine, just like with doctors. 200 years ago, there were doctors who made people better and doctors who made people dead. And you couldn't tell which one was which, because they were both called doctors.
Go back to Hippocrates. They thought what he was talking about was voodoo science again.
Yeah, exactly.
And, of course, those were all the people from the Flat Earth Society, but they had a global conference last week. So, it's interesting, but, we're looking at times now when we have to take a natural approach to healthcare, because the conventional medicine is not preventive. It's reactionary.
Right, exactly.
But if you can take a preventive caution to keep your body optimized. That's right. I'm 68, actually 35 times 2, but I'm almost there. But, the longer that we live, we don't want to live in a wheelchair or in a bed.
quality.
No, I want to be active. I want to be going and doing and traveling and having a good time, doing everything I always wanted to do. So it's imperative that we take a proactive approach to our own health.
Boy.
You can't rely on the government. You can't rely on pharma. You can't rely on insurance. It's your own responsibility.
Well, in the past, before the 20th century and Big Pharma, we were all taking care of our own needs. People were not just farming their own lands but they were making their own medicines. And when you had a specific individual that was classified the medicine man or the doctor, they were only respected by the results, not because they had a title. So, and I know I have some friends who live in Italy now, and it just blew my mind when they told me, yes, before we get on Zoom, I have a doctor's appointment. So once it's done, we'll get on. It's like, where are you going? Well, how long will it take you to get back? Goes, no, the doctor's coming to the house. I'm like, what are you talking coming to the house? They do doctor's visits to the house? Goes, oh, yes. And if they don't take care of you correctly, you don't pay them. I'm like, this is the 21st century. Did I just hear what like, what? That's fantastic. House calls and you don't pay unless they make you feel better. And I'm like, it's America.
One of the problems with the system we have is it separates everything out and separates the responsibility.
Yes.
And so, but my background is my degree is in economics, and so I look at kind of what are the systems, the incentives they create, and health insurance. The incentive for the health insurance company is that you stay healthy or die fast. The one thing they don't want is for you to die slowly.
That's
but
right.
I've always thought that a simple solution to the healthcare system would be require all health insurance to include disability and life coverage. So if the person can't work or they die, it costs the money. So if you know, and you know, a $1 million term policy is actually pretty cheap, below a certain age.
Yes.
And so if the insurance company knew, well, if this person dies, it's going to cost us $1 million. And there's experimental treatment that costs $50,000. Let's give that a shot. Let's try that one out first. Yeah, let's see if we can keep that.
Economics to explain the necessity to keep us healthy. I mean, you're making it. Give them a reason why to keep us healthy, and economically, then that's all to be focused on. And that's
they'll pay for a drug that requires another drug that requires another drug that requires another drug, but they won't pay for something that actually will help the person's body to heal. Yeah. And you mentioned one thing, Angelus, go back to the American Indians. Those medicine doctors knew their stuff. Exactly. Well, guess what? Fast forward, we're medicine doctors. That's really what it boils down to. And we're not using voodoo science as they analyze different characteristics of plants. They're finding that they have incredible healing powers. Now you combine that with the brain, because all disease begins and ends in the brain. You start matching these things together. Guess what? You get results. It's not rocket science.
Well, you got to understand the economics of it. Some people prefer to call themselves healers, and they're in a position or a profession, while others are businessmen and women. And there's a distinct difference between that. And I'm sure you guys have done the same. I've gone to dentists. I've gone to, dermatologists. I've gone to regular health practitioners of all types of different illnesses and problems, broken bones, to a bad fungus on my nail, on my toenail. And it's amazing how you can separate the ones. Let's say I walk in and I walk out and I feel better. And I'm like, this is a true healer. And others, I'll walk in and I'm feeling worse walking out. And actually, I got to go buy something to take care of this and take care of the symptoms of what's really causing the problem. And sometimes I have to go through this long ritual or the paperwork in such a way because it's got to be covered by insurance. It's got to the point where it's like, all right, if I feel uncomfortable walking in, I don't think I want to go to that doctor anymore.
Well, unlike Italy, you still had to pay them.
Yes, exactly. No matter, especially after you left feeling worse. It's like it's like, I don't know. It's like drinking alone. I don't believe in it. It's just
Yep. Well, so speaking of belief, I believe that is the thing that Angelus is going to be leading us on: the rich man, poor man mentality.
Yes, it's the mindset. Well, this started actually about 10 years ago. I had a client, and very successful. By the way, most 99.9% of all my clients that come to me, they're financially set. Some of them for life. It's amazing the careers they're doing, what medium of services and products they're in. So this person came making about an average of 120,000, so 6 figures. And I said, this is a fantastic operations you got there. And it's like, yes, but the problem is I am tired. I am 65. I don't want to do this for the next 5-10 years. I don't want to do this for the next 6 months. I feel like I just want to blow up my business and just walk away from it, which you can't financially do. And so he's a solopreneur, and that means he does everything. And he's making that money, and it fluctuates. Now, if he gets sick, God forbid, or he hasn't taken a vacation in 10 years, he said. But if he should get sick, get distracted, something happens, he loses money. He knows how much he's going to lose for the year. So it's all based on him being there all the time. So the first thing I said to him, I said, well, what would you like to be? Where would you like to put yourself in the future? And he said, I would love to make $1 million with my business. And I said, okay, well, not a problem. All we need to do is get you out of this poor man's mindset, and we'll get you to that $1 million in a few short years, most likely. And he's looking at me like, wait a minute, what do you mean poor man? I'm not a poor man. It goes, not financially, but your attitude is making you struggle. It's making you sick. It's making you tired, ready to get rid of the thing that's going to take you into your retirement. The poor man mentality, I had to explain to him, was we think, and after doing an assessment with him, we think we do it all by ourselves. We can do everything, but nobody can do it better than us. That's how I don't care who I hire, they can't do it better than not myself. And if I hire somebody, which he did later on, they're going to blow it up because I can't trust them. They're not doing it the way I want them to do it. And I said, that's a poor man's mentality. Every self-made millionaire, every company that makes it to its first million and beyond, to the 7th figure and beyond, they have learned that they have to delegate the work out. It might have started with a solopreneur, but then it turns into an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur, the difference between the two is they start putting 2 parts to the self. And this is what makes a rich mentality, a rich man's mentality. They put one side, they have a staff, employees, laborers, whatever, for whatever business they're in. Then they have to learn how to manage these people and learn how to delegate work that they did all themselves before that. Then you want to do what I call the Ford process. We know who Ford is, Henry Ford, the one who made the cars and the vehicle. He was revolutionary in his time, but it wasn't because of the car he was making. It was his rich man mentality. He would surround himself with people, professionals, smarter than him in other fields, better engineers, better accountants, better financial advisors. So these were all people far superior to what he was able to do. But he would make the final decision by listening to them and going, okay, who's got the best, who's going to be Gandalf today and give me the next best idea to go forwards with. So we call this in my company the dream team. So you got your staff and you got your dream team. Then you learn how to manage both of them, keep them both accountable, and communicate to them both. You will reach $1 million through your company very easily. And so the long story for this client was he got to about 600,000 plus, and he stopped there and I said, wait, I thought you wanted to get to $1 million. He goes, I'm happy with this. I used to make, for the last 10 years, I was making, a little over $6,000 by myself. Now I'm making over 600,000, and I'm taking 2-3 months long vacations to visit my family down south. And when I come back, my company's making more money than when I'm there. So he said, the prerequisite for my success is I got to step away. So this is the mentality. And the funny thing about it is it was taught to me in the 70s. Oh boy. Yeah, showing my age now. By my good father, who came to me one day as a child. And I know you're going to remember this. For you millennials, go Google it. I'm not going to go into details. But it was Earl Nightingale through Conan, I forgot the company's name, the Field of Diamonds, I think it was called. And this was like the first. Nobody knew how valuable and how progressive this first cassette, not CDs or DVDs or, digital. It was cassette on how to improve ourselves. The first self-help manual book, audiobook. And he gave me this whole course on it. It's like, here, son, maybe you'll like this, because I was very cerebral back then. I was just taking in all information. And I said, this is great stuff. This is brilliant. Who gave you this? Oh, well, they gave it to me at work. And I said, really? I love your job. I mean, this is fantastic schooling. This is nothing they're going to teach in school. And so he said, I asked him, why did they give it to you? He goes, well, I have to go through that course and understand it before I can become a manager. They want to make a manager out of me. And that's the prerequisite. I'm like, why are you giving it to me, Dad? And he's like, well, I don't believe in that stuff. That's just mind washing, brainwashing stuff. That's his exact quote. I'm like, and I said to him a very distinct response that just got him upset. And I should have, in hindsight, I thought it was brilliant, but back then it was, you should never do this.
You haven't listened to the tape yet. So you didn't know.
No, I said, Dad, if your brain wasn't dirty already, you wouldn't need any brainwashing. So you really need to get your brain washed. I didn't get too far with that, but hey, so the long story to this, my father never went through the course, and the management looked at that as, okay, he doesn't have the right stuff. He doesn't have the ambition. He doesn't want to be a manager. He never became a manager. If he had done this course and became a manager, his workload would have reduced. And because he was a laborer, painter, and these robot machines back then, and he would have had people underneath him, and his salary would have doubled, if not tripled, over time. And I asked him, "Don't you ever want to be a manager?" I said, "Why? It's too much work, too much responsibility, this and that." And I'm like, actually, if you listen to the Field of Diamonds, it'll show you that no, it's less work, but he didn't take the gift that was given to him, but I did. And after that, I started saying, is there any more stuff like this out there? Which there was almost nothing. In fact, there was nothing. This was the beginning. But I've kept that in mind because later on, it won't be like years later. I know some people have read the book by Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I'm not, saying I'm not endorsing the book, but I remember when I read that years ago, where he also talked about the rich mentality and poor mentalities of his two fathers, adopted and real. Then I read the book Napoleon Hill, another good book for business owners, and it also talked about how Carnegie would, get this individual named Napoleon Hill and pay him to do a survey for, I think, 20 plus years, and he came back saying the reason why most Americans are not wealthy and a few are very wealthy, and some of them are not even from America, is one has a poor man mentality, one has a rich man mentality. And then later on, it came out a wealthy person financially sick could have a poor man's mentality. So when people come to me and they're already successful, they're usually because they have a poor man's mentality. They have that attitude that if I can't do it myself, if they can't read my mind and just do it the way I want them to do it, they need to read minds. I said, no, you got to explain it to them. You don't read minds. And nobody can do it as good as I. And I said, you're absolutely right. Nobody can, but we don't need anybody to do it like you. We just need them to facilitate your brilliance without you there. And I've seen people come to us taking their time. They own their own business. Maybe they're multi-level marketer. Maybe they started this business themselves after they left corporate or their regular job, and they had to do it all themselves. That's a mindset. That's one mindset. And then as they're doing all this themselves, they figured at some point they can keep on doing it themselves. They get stuck. And Einstein once said, the mind that creates the problem cannot solve the problem unless it's out of his mind. What he meant is out of the box. And I think he lived up to that saying because he basically created, a field of relativity and the theories of relativity. And at the end, he kind of went mad. If you go and check up his autobiography, or at least his history. So he couldn't solve his equations that he created. But a few years after his passing, The younger scientists had no problems taking, finding the solution to many of the holes in his theory. So again, they were outside the box. It's another mindset. They didn't come in with seeing the problem. They're looking for the solution only. So businessmen are no different, or women. It doesn't matter what they sell, the services. It could be COGS, it could be massage, it could be mental urgent. It doesn't matter. I've gone with high executives in Fortune 500 companies. I remember one company in the UI where we approached them, and they said, "Well, we can't improve our productivity right now, so we're gonna get rid of this whole department. We're gonna tell them to come in and look for a job, and just expect to be laid off after a couple of months." And so we said, "Wait, why don't you train them to be more passionate about their job? Why don't you create a better morale, a better corporate culture, and get them to work harder for you? Even if you have to let them go, at least you can get more out of them, more performance." He looked at me like he didn't know what I was talking about. So, and that's corporate. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But he had his mindset. Long story short, by the time we finished, a couple months after that, nobody got fired. Nobody got laid off. Everybody just kept years later that I heard. And it's only because we came in and we trained them, the staff, to think in another mindset, another perspective. Be grateful for your position there. Be, create morale, police each other, support, hold each other accountable, communicate, know the business model. And they did extremely well. And the CEOs came in and, how is this possible? I said, well, it's not only possible, it's only a temporary fix. And that's usually my speech when I come in that direction. And he said, what do you mean? Well, about 6 months to a year, they're probably going to go back to the same thing. And I said, well, no, we don't want them, because production is really great. And the efficiency has been equally as great. What can we do to keep this from going back? He said, you got to go through the same training, because you have a poor man's mentality and they do not. So then usually when I go into such big companies, they call me to fix the problem. Like I'm some fixer. I'm not a fixer, mindset coach and trainer. So they think their staff is the problem, but they're just the followers. The problem is the leadership. So I usually say, let me train you first and then teach you to train them, because you need this. And no, I know enough. I've done this forever. This is the way it's got to be done. They're the problem. Yeah. So I'm like, okay. So I go to them. He or she thinks I fixed them, and it's not. I said, it's just a mindset. I said, but if you want to keep this and look good a year from now, you have to go through the same training. You need to get out of your own mindset, because that's what's keeping them ineffective, inefficient, and low productivity and supportive. So it is an idea that people think has to do with wealth. It's not. I know some of my clients who come to me, they're ready to stroke out. Some have. They're ready to have a heart attack. Some have, because they didn't slow down and realize what was the reason for taking that job. Well, to create a better lifestyle. Well, why don't you just live the lifestyle now, which is a rich man's mentality, and let the business revolve around your lifestyle, rich man mentality, instead of trying to work hard at the business to create some distant future creation of an ideal life that you would like to have. Because most likely, as long as you stay in that poor man's mentality, you never reach it. So that's basically the essence of a rich man, poor man's mentality.
Yeah. I found in my corporate life, and I've worked for 5 different major corporations, that the Peter principle was quite prevalent. And so what happens was incompetence rises to a higher level than a lot of the performance that is at the lower level.
It's true. It's so true.
So they're obstinate in accepting the training and becoming a better manager.
Yes, and they're obstinate, Dennis. You're right, because their mindset is kept them there. It's like people will look at me, it's like, I have a bad mindset. I go, no, you have a great mindset. It's got you to where you are. The only difference is that you're attempting to make a new change in your life or your business, but you're not changing your mindset. So if you were taught that I have to do everything when I first start this out, nobody's taught you from the beginning that at some point in the future, the plan is to give it to somebody else. And that's just a simple mindset that people, I deal with the solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, small companies, and they'll come say, I can't, it's like, it's a small mom and pops, and they hate me. They think I'm a monster. And I said,
and I wanted to also pick up on one thing you talked about with the solopreneurs. When it comes time to go sell their business, they can't, because they are the business.
There you go.
So there's no value unless they continue in that role.
That's exactly what I was saying with my first client. If you want to sell this for your retirement, which is the ideal reason a person will create a business,
right?
You want to stabilize it, scale it up, and then sell it. But a poor man's mentality can't, because they are, like you said, the business. They leave the business dies. My wife had this conversation with me a while back. Said, listen, we both founded the company, but she spearheaded for a while after a slight debacle we had about 15 years ago with a partner. Now, she really, it's all, you see her almost everywhere when it comes to Success Genie. She's only now saying, well, you're equally responsible, but I don't have enough videos of things that we got to change that, put you in there. But she asked me, after we took a look at her intellectual property, it's worth a lot of money. And she said, if I should pass before you, will you continue the business? I said, you crazy? Continue the business? I am the business. You know, it's like, it doesn't matter if your face on the right. My mentality is, you know, I'm going to continue until the day I die. Now, do I have to do it? No, because I already know that if she should pass before me, I could sell off Success Genie to such a degree, and I will be okay. But I have a choice. Big difference. I have a choice. And I told her, what would you want me to do? I said, I'd like you to continue it. You know, it's like my legacy to go on. I said, well, you have to then set it up so it doesn't require just me to keep it going. Remember, it's the mindset. Said, you're a coach, you're a mindset coach. You need to set up your business. Since we both found it, but she was spearheaded. I said, this is her mind child. You need to make sure if something happens to me, you don't have to work to death. You can sell or at least walk away from this and it's still working. So she's like, oh yeah.
What's really interesting is the fact that we have to be our own best testimony in whatever we're doing. So in mindset coaching, you have to establish that fact that it's not about you.
Yes.
The business. Exactly. And just like me, it's not about me. It's about, being able to take a number of people and replicate what we do.
Exactly.
And of course, you hear all the greats talk about replication and leverage of time. I mean, those are really, things that I learned years ago before all the big speakers got the big bucks,
Exactly.
But it's true. You have to be your own best testimony. You got to sell yourself first before you sell other people.
Exactly.
So I want to touch on something else you mentioned, about living the life you're trying to build now instead of later. I fell into that trap a few months ago. We recently bought a house, which was kind of one of our big dreams. But I'm trying to build a business. I really started what I'm doing last July, so there's still a lot of figuring it out and going. And so I'd have this mindset of if my wife wouldn't do something that's actually going to do laundry, housework, whatever, and I had to do it, then I'm like, oh, I don't have time for this. I need to work on the business. Or my daughter would want my attention, and I'd be like, oh, she's distracting me from the business I need to build. I need to build this thing, and she's distracting me. And then I finally sat down. Actually, as another coach took me through the 7 levels deep process, which is where, you say what you want, and they say, okay, if you had that, what would you have next? If you had that, what would you have? If you had that. And I went all the way down. When I realized I got to the bottom is, well, then I'd have time to spend with my wife and my daughter and build that life. And suddenly I'm like, wait a minute. So when I'm working and she interrupts me, that's the thing. The work is the interruption.
Yes.
That's right. It's a necessary interruption. It's going to interrupt a lot of the week. But when I flip that, I'm like, oh, I get to spend time with her. And the cost of doing that is doing the work. And all of a sudden, the way approach my wife is differently. The way I think about what she's doing is differently. I'm now focused on the things that are going right and the things that are good, and not so much. And she hasn't changed, and she looks exactly the same objectively. And yet I appreciate her more, and I see her differently, and it's just so much. So much of a better, like, I am living a better life now with nothing having objectively changed, because then, like, wait a minute, I'm there. This is
exactly.
This is what we're working for. We have the house, we have the family, we're good.
We do that with Michael. We do that. We call it the onion layers, and we get, what is it that you're here for? What do you think your business is going to give you? And they'll say, well, I want more money, or this and that. Usually more money, some stupid thing like that. It's a mindset everybody seems to have coming. And I say stupid not as a judgment. It's like, it's dangerous. So I said, if you had all the money in the world, if you had everything you needed, what would you do right now? Well, I mean, what would you be doing socially? Do you go to church? Have you been to church? So you're telling me you want to go to church, but you haven't been because you're so busy. How about your hobbies? You got hobbies, but you haven't been working with them. What about your family? What about your finances and your career? And, after I give like 8 or 9 reasons of your lifestyle that you created this business for, they go, well, I would love to have all that. That's what I'm doing the job for. It's like, well, that's the problem. It's a job. It's not a business. It's not a business you own or an investment. It's a job. You just traded one job for another job. It doesn't matter if you went from a corporation to solopreneur. That's still a job. Now you need to wrap the lifestyle around the job. And I've had one of my clients, he was saying the same thing, busy. He got it. Everything's a distraction, his family, his kids. And then he loves to make beer. I said, you make beer? He goes, yeah. Wow. So I helped him finance a small section of his basement, put some refrigerators and stuff, and he just went crazy on it. And now, long story short, he says, if I don't make beer, I lose money. I said, brilliant. So if I'm making beer in my basement for fun, and it's just for fun, it's not for selling, he actually does better in his business. And it's like, well, what's the difference than before? It's like, before I saw the business as the only thing. And these things are in hopes or distractions, like you said, Michael. Now, the business, if you're focused on your family, you did it with the house, Michael, you did it with your kids. But before you had your kids, it didn't matter what. You didn't have a plan, even though you might have had plans of how you're going to take them to school and maybe have some money put aside for them for college or whatever. You didn't know the detailed day-to-day plan. My father-in-law said it best. After my wife was born, he waited there for a while. I said, why did you wait there for a while? I was looking for the instruction manual to come out. It never did. So I had to wing it. But he did whatever it took to make sure that my wife and her sister were taken care of. Self-made millionaire told me that back in the 90s. It says, if you treat your business, like it's secondary to everything else, and you focus on your life and making sure that the life produces, this is a bonus, the business is the bonus, then you will be successful in whatever you do. But if you see it, you have to take care of this first. You may die of a heart attack. It's so funny he said that. This is a nice heart attack and a stroke and never get to your dream. And a lot of my clients have had, thank goodness, they survived heart attacks and strokes. And not to forget this, very important. I have one good friend, my wife and I. His name is David. Kind of bothers me. I'm sorry. Successful man. Okay. Just about to get married. He's engaged. Beautiful opera singer. He's the pillar of his community in a small town up north of Connecticut. He's going to be bringing in business to this community. Everybody loves him. He is just, successful socially, financially, hobby, everything in his life. So looks. And one day he was driving down the Mayor Parkway and he decided, well, I can't take it anymore. And he drove his car into a stone wall and killed himself. And when in hindsight, I found out that he had a demon that was driving him insane. And the demon was that he had an ex-wife who was a psychiatrist and very brilliant woman. She more or less hated him and was using the kids that they had against them, and said, if you want, it's weaponizing the kids. If you want to have this access, you have to make more money, and this and this and that. And he was basically telling him he had to do things that he never wanted to do, or else he won't have, access to his kids. And he just couldn't do it. And this poor man, this wonderful person, this human being, decided suicide was better. Poor man's mentality will have you commit suicide. And I didn't even know Michael was under that much emotional distress. And I'm a person who suffers from depression since I was born with it, and I manage it very well without drugs. Okay? I manage it very well, but I understand the need, the disparity, that point of really low, and it's like, but something told me inside, no, there's a better life than the depression. The depression is something that happens to me. It's not who I am. So I didn't associate myself with the depression. My friend David associated his mental anguish as being his weakness, who he was. So it was avatar of his, a personification, and he couldn't live with himself anymore. So it's really, really important that, it affects your health. And like I said earlier about, yes, you want to have a quality life. If I live to be, I'm going to go out my uncle's way. He was dancing until he was 94. He was always dancing on the weekends. He just loved going out with his family. His wife at the time was still alive. And he just sat down after finishing dancing. He said, I need to take a small little siesta. I'll be back. And he never woke up. He just went. And he looked like he had a smile on his face when he was in the chair, when we thought he was just sleeping. I said, Theo, wake up. What's wrong? Hello? I said, I want to go out like that. But I see people 70 years old, decades younger than him, in wheelchair, vegetating, like there's quality. I'll take quality of life over any job or business that I own any day of the week. So this is all about rich dad, poor dad, or rich or poor mentality.
Absolutely.
What do you think?
Yep. So we are coming to the end of the time. So I'm going to go around and get a final thought from each of you. So let Dennis share something, and then Angelus. Then I need to actually get to other matters of business. So otherwise, I would keep talking for hours and hours. But my schedule will not allow me to. But this is definitely one of the things I enjoy most about the conference is having you folks on the show now twice a week, which is why I do it twice a week. So Dennis, what's your closing thought for us?
Closing thought is people. I've met so many people that have golden nuggets that they've shared on my journey of life, and you have to stop and pick those up and carry them with you. And what you're going to get at the conference is you're going to have a lot of gold nuggets. Some you'll recognize, some you won't recognize, but you will still want to collect everything that you can.
Sure.
When you have the kind of experience that you're bringing to this conference, Michael, I mean, it's rare. It truly is rare. So I encourage everybody to listen to as many presenters as possible and collect those gold nuggets.
Nice.
And Angelus, your thoughts.
I'm aligning with Dennis. He already spoke my words, but I look at it this way. You want to have a rich mentality. You want to be successful in every aspect of your life. Get on Conference 21. Get in there, put your name somewhere, buy a ticket, talk to the people. I have come across some really dynamic professionals who are brilliant in their own right in what they do. And I am in the process of meeting with them privately. I didn't even know the things that they talked about, like Dennis talking about artificial intelligence. I'm in the process of writing a book. I have writer's block for the last 8 months. And I met somebody who is a book writer in Conference 21. And he talked about, I'm going to help you finish your book in a month's time. And I even have some artificial intelligence software that will help you, progress even quicker. It's important that you keep this mentality that, hey, there's more people out there. There's more nuggets like Dennis said. So get out there, start with Conference 21, or anywhere else if you have to, but get into networking as soon as possible, because you don't understand it. It's not about you. It's about who you bump into. Might be your next $1 million information that you got for free just for talking to us. So
like you said, Angelus, associate with successful people. Guess what? It'll rub off.
Yes.
It'll rub off.
Absolutely. And that's why I structured the conference around, was to have that networking element, to have that peer-to-peer connections that most other, I was disappointed to find, most other virtual conferences don't have. They're not just about listening to people talk. And I've got to say, I am definitely not the same person I was 6 months ago. And one of the main reasons is associating with all the Conference21 speakers. And oh, look, we're making a difference. We're getting a great comment here. Thank you, Katrina. So, being able to associate with all those speakers, whether it's through our speaker Zoom calls or through this is why I created the roundtable, because getting to, hang out with different people, different perspectives, all very positive, all with different gold nuggets, as Dennis says. I've been the primary beneficiary of this because I get to be surrounded by all of you and talk to you all the time. But my mission in building the conference is to, as much as possible, share the experience I've had running it with the people who are attending, and not just on May 21st, 23rd, but at the networking events, through the roundtables, through everything else that brings everyone together. It's just been a great thing. And I hope many people will join us. And as I said, the website is, we're having some challenges, but the front page works, and that's where you need to buy a ticket. So go there to conference21.com. It's only $21, and that will get you in, and you'll be able to navigate around once you're in there. So that's why the platform's great. It's just the scheduling site right now that we're still working on, but they're all amazing. It doesn't matter which talk you go to, you're going to learn something from any one of them. So, well, thank you, Dennis, and thank you, Angelus, for being on here. It has been fantastic as always. Good to have you here, and have a wonderful weekend.
Yes,
be well and prosper.
Got it. Thank you. See you all soon.
There we go. Yeah.
There you go.
Nice. Ow.
Have a great weekend.
Have a great week.